What do you picture when you think of Hollywood's golden age? Glittering movie premieres, dazzling gowns, and stars who seemed larger than life. But behind the silver screen glamour, there were the homes, lavish estates and eccentric mansions that revealed more about the stars than any movie role ever could. Some were shrines to extravagance, others were filled with secrets, and a few carried rumors of curses that haunted their owners. Many of these houses are gone today, bulldozed or erased, almost as if Hollywood wanted to bury their strangest stories. But the memories linger. From a pink palace filled with champagne fountains to haunted mansions whispered about for decades, these homes show us a side of Hollywood that was never meant for the spotlight. Jayne Mansfield's Pink Palace. In the late 1950s, Jayne Mansfield was one of the most talked about women in Hollywood. Often dismissed as a Marilyn Monroe copycat, she refused to blend in, and nowhere was that clearer than in her infamous Beverly Hills mansion, known simply as the Pink Palace. Imagine pulling up to a bubblegum-colored estate that looked like it had stepped straight out of a candy store. Every inch screamed Jayne. The swimming pool was heart-shaped, with a mosaic at the bottom that spelled out, "I love you, Janie." Inside, her bathroom was lined not just with pink shag carpet on the floors, but on the walls and ceilings. It was like living inside a cotton candy cloud. Her husband, Mickey Hargitay, a former Mr. Universe, helped design many of the home's bizarre features. One centerpiece was a fountain that Mansfield would occasionally fill with pink champagne during her legendary parties. Imagine dozens of Hollywood guests sipping from a champagne fountain while surrounded by carpets that looked like bubble gum. It was equal parts glamorous and ridiculous. But beneath the kitsch and spectacle was something deeper. A star desperate to stand out in an industry that often brushed her aside. The Pink Palace wasn't just a home. It was a loud declaration that Jayne Mansfield would not be forgotten. And she wasn't. Sadly, the mansion was demolished in the early 2000s. All that remains today are photos and stories, but the Pink Palace still stands in Hollywood lore as one of the most eccentric celebrity homes of all time. But if Mansfield's house was eccentric fun, Buster Keaton's mansion was pure engineering genius, with a tragic twist. Buster Keaton's engineering playground. Buster Keaton, one of the silent era's greatest comedians, had a home that could have been a film set in itself. Built in the 1920s, his sprawling Beverly Hills estate included 20 rooms, a Roman-style swimming pool, and even a trout stream running through the grounds. Keaton loved tinkering, and he couldn't resist turning his house into a personal playground. He installed a hidden bar that, at the push of a button, could transform into a private screening room. Guests never quite knew what to expect when they visited. There was always a surprise waiting around the corner. But just as his films blended comedy with danger, the estate told a story of highs and lows. At the height of his career, Keaton was unstoppable. But as the silent era gave way to talking pictures, his career stumbled. Financial troubles mounted and his marriage fell apart. Eventually, he lost the estate altogether. For Keaton, the home that once symbolized his success became a reminder of everything he had lost. Today, the estate is long gone, but its memory lingers as a bittersweet chapter in the life of a man who built a legacy on laughter while privately battling heartbreak. If Keaton's house was a comedy tinged with tragedy, Marion Davies lived in a palace fit for royalty, but it came with a price. Marion Davies' Ocean House. When silent film star Marion Davies settled into her Santa Monica estate, she wasn't just moving into a house. She was stepping into a palace by the sea. Ocean House was built in the 1920s with the financial backing of her lover, the powerful newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst. The scale of the property was staggering: over 100 rooms, 55 bathrooms, and 37 fireplaces. The centerpiece was a 110-foot-long swimming pool lined with marble statues and surrounded by lush gardens. It was a palace that rivaled European royalty, and it played host to some of the grandest parties Hollywood had ever seen. Winston Churchill, Charlie Chaplin, and countless other luminaries mingled there. On the surface, it looked like a fairy tale, but behind the grandeur lay a complicated truth. The house, while a symbol of Davies' success, also represented her dependence on Hearst. His controlling nature often overshadowed her ambitions, and she was forced to live in the shadow of his empire. When Hearst's finances crumbled in the 1930s, the estate was gradually sold off. By the 1950s, the main house was demolished. Only fragments remain today: the pool and a guest house, preserved as part of the Annenberg Community Beach House. Ocean House's ruins stand as a bittersweet reminder of Davies' rise to fame and the sacrifices she made to hold her place in Hollywood's elite. But if Ocean House was a gilded cage, Rudolph Valentino's Falcon Lair was a fortress cloaked in mystery and tragedy. Rudolph Valentino's Falcon Lair. Rudolph Valentino was Hollywood's first great heartthrob, and his Beverly Crest estate, Falcon Lair, reflected his dramatic persona. Built in the 1920s, the home was designed with sprawling gardens, arched doorways, and a staircase that looked like it belonged in a medieval castle. He named it after his film The Hooded Falcon, but for Valentino it became much more than a set piece. He poured his soul into Falcon Lair, making it a personal sanctuary. Tragically, he barely had time to enjoy it. Just months after moving in, Valentino died at the age of 31, sending shockwaves across the world. His fans flocked to Falcon Lair, leaving flowers and letters at the gates for years afterward. And soon, rumors began to swirl. Some whispered that Valentino himself believed the house was cursed. Later owners reported eerie occurrences, unexplained noises, shadowy figures, feelings of being watched. Though the estate was eventually demolished in the early 2000s, its legend endures. Falcon Lair remains one of the most infamous Hollywood homes, a haunting reminder of fame's fleeting nature. While Valentino's estate became shrouded in tragedy, another star's home became a palace of joy that slowly turned into a gilded prison. Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks's Pickfair. If there was ever a royal palace of Hollywood, it was Pickfair. Built in the 1920s, this 42-room mansion in Beverly Hills was the shared home of silent film darling Mary Pickford and her swashbuckling husband, Douglas Fairbanks. Together, they were Hollywood royalty, and Pickfair was their castle. The estate featured a private screening room, a ballroom, and even a swimming pool where Pickford and Fairbanks famously paddled around in a canoe for their guests' amusement. Everyone who was anyone passed through Pickfair's doors. Albert Einstein, Charlie Chaplin, Amelia Earhart. It was a hub of Hollywood glamour at its peak. But like so many fairy tales, this one soured. After their divorce in the 1930s, Pickford became reclusive. She rarely left the mansion, spending her final years wandering its halls, haunted by memories of her lost love and fading stardom. In the 1990s, actress Pia Zadora purchased Pickfair and controversially demolished it, claiming it was infested with termites and possibly haunted. The destruction caused outrage, as many saw it as the erasure of a vital piece of Hollywood history. Pickfair's name still evokes the magic of the Golden Age, but its physical presence is gone, leaving only whispers of its glory. But while Pickfair represented royalty, one Hollywood rebel built a sanctuary for misfits that became legend in its own right. Alla Nazimova's Garden of Allah. Russian-born actress Alla Nazimova transformed her Sunset Boulevard estate into something no one had seen before: the Garden of Allah. Purchased in the 1910s, it became a bohemian paradise for Hollywood's most unconventional artists. The mansion boasted lush gardens, a pool shaped like the Black Sea, and guest villas that housed luminaries like F. Scott Fitzgerald, Greta Garbo, and Errol Flynn. It was a safe haven for creative spirits who didn't quite fit into Hollywood's rigid mold. Nazimova herself was known for her avant-garde sensibilities, and she hosted gatherings that defied the conservative norms of the era. Behind those gates, people could live freely, even when the world outside judged them harshly. But financial troubles forced her to sell in the 1920s. The estate became a hotel and, by the 1950s, had fallen into disrepair. Eventually, it was demolished and replaced by, of all things, a strip mall. Yet the Garden of Allah lives on in legend, remembered as a sanctuary for visionaries and outsiders in a town that didn't always welcome them. But while the Garden of Allah was about freedom, one man's castle was about control. Total, unrelenting control. William Randolph Hearst's San Simeon, Hearst Castle. If excess had an address, it was San Simeon. Newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst spent nearly 3 decades building his empire on the California coast. Known as Hearst Castle, the estate featured 165 rooms, sprawling gardens, and 2 massive pools, one of which was lined with actual gold tiles. Hearst's obsession with European art and architecture turned the property into something between a palace and a museum. He shipped entire ceilings, statues, and tapestries from centuries-old castles overseas just to adorn his home. To top it off, he created his own private zoo, complete with zebras, giraffes, and even polar bears. Some animals were allowed to roam the grounds freely, astonishing guests who arrived for his parties. Those gatherings drew Hollywood's elite, from Charlie Chaplin to Greta Garbo. But beneath the glittering events was Hearst's relentless need to control everything and everyone around him. His companion, actress Marion Davies, often found herself caught between his grand ambitions and her own desires. Financial collapse in the 1930s forced him to sell off much of his art, but somehow he managed to keep San Simeon. Today, it's a state park, preserved as a monument to one man's relentless pursuit of prestige, even when it came at a personal cost. But Hollywood excess didn't always come in castles. Sometimes it hid in modest houses with reputations darker than their walls. Jean Harlow's haunted Beverly Hills home. Jean Harlow, one of Hollywood's most dazzling stars, lived in a modest Beverly Hills home on North Palm Drive. Compared to the palaces of her peers, it wasn't extravagant, but its story was far stranger. In 1932, her husband, Paul Byrne, was found dead in the house under mysterious circumstances. Officially ruled a suicide, the case sparked endless rumors. Some suspected foul play. Others whispered that the house itself carried a curse. The mystery only deepened when Harlow herself died just a few years later at the age of 26. After her death, new owners reported strange occurrences, unexplained noises, eerie sensations, and shadows that seemed to move when no one was there. To this day, people speculate that the house is haunted. Unlike many other Golden Age mansions, it still stands. Quiet and unassuming, yet holding within it the echoes of one of Hollywood's most tragic stories. From champagne fountains to cursed bedrooms, from castles with roaming zebras to palaces demolished for strip malls, these homes reveal the strangest side of Hollywood's Golden Age. They weren't just places to live, they were reflections of ambition, extravagance, heartbreak, and sometimes madness. Many of these estates are gone, wiped from the map as if Hollywood wanted to bury their stories forever. But the legends survive, and in some ways, those stories shine brighter than the stars themselves. Because in the end, Hollywood's greatest secrets weren't always on screen. They were hiding behind the locked doors of the strangest celebrity homes. So, what do you think? Were these houses cursed? Or were they just mirrors reflecting the larger-than-life people who lived in them? If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden past of Hollywood, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more untold stories from the Golden Age.